to celebrate the return of the legendary BMOVIEMIKE the Professor. Class is in session. We're turning the floor over to the professor himself, BMOVIEMIKE. How's it going, man? What do you got for us tonight?
Well, just a list of things I've been watching lately. Due to the lack of new content and, in the past couple of years, the lack of good new content, I've been reaching back into the yesteryear to try to brush up on some classics that maybe I forgot about or just, haven't watched in a while. And like I told Lauren on his channel, like in July, I think when I made my appearance on there, I rediscovered Svengoolie, which is the late night movie host that I grew up with in the Chicago area. He's on MeTV Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and he shows all the the great bad old flicks. And a few of the ones I've been enjoying on his broadcast lately have been Tarantula from 1955, classic. I mean, you can't go wrong with stuff like that. Peter Cushing and Island of Terror, just a gloriously bad, awesome flick. Highly recommend that one. And actually, there's another channel, Movies, just called Movies. You can look it up on like moviestvnetwork.com. They're having a Peter Cushing-a-thon on Monday, and that's one of the films that's included. Starts at 8 p.m. So if you want to watch some, some good stuff from yesteryear, definitely recommend that. Dr. Cyclops from 1940. Now, one thing I forgot was how inventive some of these movies are. You can, once you get used to the modern day special effects, you think those old ones are, janky and ridiculous. Then you go back and watch them and you're like, wow, what they did with nothing is very, very impressive. You have to kind of like separate yourself from what's possible now and try to think about what was possible then. And some of the things that they did in those movies is just, it had to be mind blowing to audiences of the day. Because, they achieved some very cool effects with nothing. Dr. Cyclops was one of them. It was for 1940, it was in color and they did really good, they shrunk the cast down and had the big sets. And that was really cool. I really enjoyed that one. Of course, the original Blob. Now, the remake, of course, is near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite remakes from the 80s. But the original still has a charm to it that I think makes it watchable. And the theme song's pretty groovy. Black Scorpion and Them was a double feature I caught on Movies last night. Them is one of my favorite sci-fi giant bug movies from the 50s, and Black Scorpion's a close second. That channel's really, really kicking ass this Halloween season. And, if you're tired of the usual stuff, if you've seen Freddy 1,000 times or something and you just want to see something cheesy from the old days, I'd highly recommend you check out those two channels. Some good stuff. And, of course, Shudder. I'm not paid by Shudder, so it's going to sound like this is a paid advertisement, but I really, really love that service. And, of course, Joe Bob's got a show tomorrow night, October 23rd, 9 p.m. Joe Bob's Halloween Hideaway. I'm sure that's going to be a blast. I've been enjoying a lot of his content. Glad to see him back. I remember him from, of course, the Movie Channel. I've been on board with him since he first started doing the horror show hosting duties before Monster Vision, before any of that stuff. Consistently funny and entertaining. And so I'm looking forward to that show tomorrow night. The movie I wanted to talk about, we talk about a lot of slasher flicks. We've talked about them in the past ad nauseum. Halloween was a very ripped off flick, and we've talked about all the franchises that were spawned in its wake. But earlier in the decade of the 70s, The Exorcist was another high quality horror flick that spawned a genre and had multiple ripoffs. One of them I've watched recently, and it's so bad it's awesome. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a horrible movie, but I loved it. It's from 1975. Well, depending on what you look at, it's either 74 or 75. And it's got multiple titles. Of course, it's an Italian production. And I'm a sucker for Italian horror flicks. I can't help it. It's called Beyond the Door. It's also known as The Devil Within Her. Uh, man, it's the exteriors were shot in San Francisco. The interiors were shot in Rome. And of course, all the cast is speaking different languages, dubbed in English. The dubbing is out of sync most of the time. It's got this glorious Italian imitation of like a 70s funk soundtrack. It's awesome. The baby within her is the devil's child, a la Rosemary's Baby. So it's kind of a mashup of The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. And crazy shit happens. And it is like so funny. I think probably unintentionally, but just because of the filmmaker's perspective. But there's a 10-year-old girl in there that's got a sailor's mouth, and she just talks jive better than most adults. It's quite hilarious to hear the 4-year-old boy and the 10-year-old girl have a conversation, because it's like a conversation adults would have, complete with language. And there are some cool set pieces in it, though. I don't know if there's any real creepy moments or scares. I guess there could be considered that, but I really enjoyed it. There's pea soup. You can't go wrong with that. There's spinning heads. There's profanity. There's devil voices. It's got everything you would want in a horrible Italian ripoff of The Exorcist, and it's on Shudder right now as well. So you can check that out if you have Shudder. I think it's a great flick. I do highly recommend it, just because it's so bad. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for that, Mike. Definitely, Beyond the Door. It's been a while since I've seen that one, and it's something else.
Mike, does the kid drink soup in a straw in the beginning of the movie?
Straight out of the can. Yes.
That is, I remember that, and I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I'm watching. But in the movie, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. In a car, drinking soup with a straw out of the can.
It's not even split pea. It's just green pea soup.
Disgusting. So
Yeah.
You think the girl spitting out pea soup is disgusting? No, the kid drinking it with the straw in the heat in a convertible is twice as gross. But I
love the part where she goes grocery shopping. She just leaves the kids in the car. She's like, "Oh, I'll be back." And she goes in. There's like a long sequence of her picking out groceries, and the kids are just in the car chilling in the parking lot. The 70s, man. That was another thing about the movie, was that the clothes, the music, the cars. I was really, really young when that movie came out, 6 or 7, but I still kind of remember that. So it was kind of like taking me way back to my childhood. And things like that did happen. We rode in the back of pickup trucks. We didn't wear seatbelts. We waited in the car while our parents went in shopping. I mean, that was just life, and we didn't think anything of it. I mean,
my dad,
that would horrify people.
My dad, don't touch the shifter. Don't touch the shifter while I'm in the store.
That
was my dad.
And forget about cracking the window. You just you either survived or you didn't.
Yeah.
I would ride on the back dash. Like I would just be up there. That'd be I'd chill on the back dash. Like
true survival of the fittest, man.
Yeah. Here you go, little Mikey. Here's your soup, buddy. There you go. You drink that.
And if you really love foreign Exorcist ripoffs, there's a film that exists under even more titles that is known as in America widely as the Eerie Midnight Horror Show or Los Exorcisto. And I really recommend that simply because it's just heaps and heaps of the most disgusting nudity you'll ever see. And it's really bad and it's wonderful. There's also a film called Abby, which was suppressed by Warner Brothers because it is a almost scene per scene ripoff dramatically. I mean, everything's changed culturally, but of The Exorcist from an African-American standpoint, but obviously an African-American standpoint via white filmmakers who have really no clue. So I recommend, if you can find a copy of Abby, which is a little bit tough because it is suppressed, definitely spin that too.
You can guarantee that every popular American horror film has at least a dozen Italian ripoffs, at least
with 24 names.
With 24 names,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
finished.